All by saying good morning to everyone. And this is the October 7th, 2021 meeting of the Lower Downtown Design Review Commission. And we'll officially call the meeting to order. And as usual, before we start our discussions, we'll review the options for public comment. And that is if you are joining by computer, tablet, or smartphone, and we can now say smartphone, right? You can select the hand raise option, which I believe is *9 on the phone. And if you are sorry, if you're calling in on the phone and don't have a smartphone, you can still raise your hand by using *9. You are also able to email landmark@denvergov.org with your name and phone number and the number you're using to call in and the project that you would like to discuss in order to participate. And do we have the room in person available, Jen, or is that no longer?
No, we are not going to do that unless we have something that's incredibly controversial that we anticipate many people coming.
All right, so I'm gonna take that off the list. So those are the options for participating currently. Next, we'd like to introduce each of the commissioners who are present. So I will ask each commissioner to provide their name and what position they serve on the commission. We'll go in alphabetical order and I'll call on you, although I will start with myself. I am Jane Chrysler. I am the chair of the commission and preservation architect. So let me make sure I don't have everybody in view. So apologies if I call some wrong names, but do we have Tom?
Nope, we don't have Tom, Fred, or
Mike.
who else? Mike today, and it looks like Andy has not joined yet.
Okay. Then let's start with Jim.
Jim, turn on your mute.
I think we can hear you, Jim.
Oh,
Now we can.
okay. Jim Gravener, resident of Lower Downtown.
And John.
John McIntyre, architect and member at large.
Heather.
Heather Vasquez Johnson, the practicing architect.
And Steve.
Steve Weil, business representative.
Great. And then if Andy joins, we'll have him introduce himself as well. So the next item of business is to discuss the meeting record approval. So I will ask commissioners, do any of you have any comments or clarifications on the September 2nd, 2021 meeting record? If not, or not hearing any, would someone like to make a motion to approve it?
Sure. Jane, I move to approve the meeting record from September 2nd, 2021.
Thank you, Heather. Is there a second?
I second it.
Thank you, Steve. So let's do a roll call vote for the meeting record. And we'll start with Jim.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Heather.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
And Jane is also an aye. So the meeting record is approved. Motion passes. All right. So moving on, doesn't appear that we have any consent agenda items today, so we can move on to our design review agenda. And to review that process quickly, as a reminder, staff will make a presentation followed by questions by the commissioners. Applicants will have up to 10 minutes to make a presentation to the commission, followed by any questions by commissioners. At that point, members of the public are welcome to comment for up to 2 minutes each. And again, that can be accomplished by computer, tablet, smartphone or just by phone. And then staff may offer clarifications. And following that testimony and questions, the commission will then go into deliberation and we will vote. So I would, at this point, I will call the first or only design review item, and that is 2021 COA 440, 1691 Market Street, Market Station. Turn it over to Brittany.
Can everyone hear me okay?
I
Okay. I just got a message that my connection was unstable, so hopefully this goes okay. So our first application of the day is for 2 projecting signs at 1691 Market Street, which is on Market Station, which is a new infill development within the district that is nearing completion. You can see a photograph of the storefront in question that the 2 signs are proposed for. This is the corner tenant water grill that is located at the corner of Market and 17th Street. 1 projecting sign will be located on Market Street and 1 sign will be located on 17th Street. Jen, it says I have control, but it's not letting me do anything.
Sweet. Oh, wait, I see your mouse moving now. Does that help? Oop,
Yeah,
I'm not on video.
it's not popping up
Okay.
the things.
I'll do it. Oh, it just moved.
Okay.
Just let me know and I'll move them.
So what slide is everyone seeing? Because I'm seeing one slide, the floor plan only.
Weird. I'm showing an elevation on
Okay.
Market Street.
I will just carry on. So here we have the Market Street elevation. Landmark staff have administratively approved 2 canopy signs for this tenant. This tenant, as it's located on a corner, is allowed 4 signs, 2 on each frontage. So we have administratively approved the canopy sign that you see in this image here. And then the applicant is requesting a projecting sign onto Market Street. The CSP does allow for 1 projecting sign per frontage. So this is an acceptable number of signs and type of signs. In terms of the Market Street elevation, the sign is located per a location allowed per the CSP. As you can see below, that is an excerpt from the CSP. This tenant has revised their storefronts, which is why the storefront elevations don't quite match what you're seeing in the CSP rendering, but those have been also reviewed and approved by the LDDRC, but the piers are generally in the same location still for this, this tenant here. Next slide. So I'm assuming you're now seeing the 17th Street elevation. Again, another canopy sign on the 17th Street elevation and a projecting sign on the 17th Street elevation as well. Staff do have some concerns over the placement of this sign on the comprehensive sign plan. The approved location for a projecting sign is the 3rd pier in from Market Street, and the applicant has placed their sign on the 4th pier in from Market Street, which is not a location that was approved for a projecting sign on 17th Street. So this projecting sign would need to be moved over 1 pier to the left to comply with the CSP, or the CSP would need to be revised to allow for this location that is proposed currently by the tenant. Next slide. So the proposed sign is a blade sign that will be mounted on a harpoon bracket. This is an approved bracket per the comprehensive sign plan. This is a bracket option 3, which you can see here. These are just the mounting details and showing what the illumination style will be. It is a external fixture, which is allowed per the CSP. The proposed fixture is not quite what is spec'd in the CSP, although it's very similar to the proposed fixture spec'd in the comprehensive sign plan. Next slide. So the proposed projecting sign is, each one is very small. It's only 2 feet 6 inches by 1 feet 9 inches in height. Here you can see that harpoon style bracket that is proposed. Staff are very concerned about this proposed sign, as the Market Station Comprehensive Sign Plan states that projecting signs must be a creative in the use of unique 2- and 3-dimensional form, profile, and iconographic representation. Staff do not feel that this is a unique 2- or 3-dimensional form, nor is it a iconographic representation. The applicant did previously submit an additional projecting sign at the corner that was a unique 2-dimensional iconographic form, and staff did encourage them to go forward with that sign instead of the sign that you see here today. However, the applicant feels very strongly about this particular sign design. Staff also do not find the sign to be a recognizable or realistic sculptural representation of an everyday object, which is required by the Market Station CSP. Additionally, the Denver zoning code for the lower downtown district requires creative use of unique 2- and 3-dimensional form and profile and iconographic representation employing exceptional lighting design. So at this time, staff are recommending denial of the proposed projecting signs, as we have concerns over the placement of the sign on 17th Street, the design of the sign in general, and not being 2D or 3-dimensional or an iconographic representation. And we don't find that this sign complies with the Denver zoning code as well. So we are recommending denial at this time.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes.
Brittany, could you clarify something? Do you think the harpoon meets the requirements?
The harpoon does meet the requirements, and it is a bracket style that is allowed per the CSP. It's bracket option style 3. This CSP was specifically written to allow this specific bracket. The CSP does allow for Market Station more creative use of brackets that need approval by the commission, but this, again, the option 3 bracket was, and the CSP was written specifically for this bracket, so it is meeting the comprehensive sign plan.
All right, thank you. So really the objection is the sign itself.
Correct.
Thank you.
And we did recommend that in their previous submittal, they did again have a sign that we felt we could recommend approval of. We did recommend that sign being mounted on this specific bracket, but again, the applicant feels strongly about this specific design.
All right. Are there any other questions for Brittany? And if not, I may take a moment and just say, welcome, Andy. And if you wouldn't mind, Andy, just introducing yourself quickly to the group, your name and your role on the commission.
Andy Duck-Inke, Preservation Architect.
Thanks, Andy. Okay, so I guess last call for questions for Brittany. Otherwise, I'd like to invite the applicant to unmute themselves, and just to let you know that you have, again, up to 10 minutes. You can take as much or as little of that as you would like to make a presentation. And since there were a few issues brought up by staff, if you're able to respond to those in your presentation, that would be appreciated. And please just make sure you state your name and address for the record. And welcome.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. I'm Amanda and I'm with Signage Solutions, and I'm the signage company representing Water Grill. And then Michael King is also on the phone, and he's the representation from Water Grill.
Hello, how's everyone doing? First off, once again, I'm Michael King with King Seafood Company, and we are finishing our build out of Water Grill at Market Station. First off, thanks to the commission, and a special thanks to Brittany, who's been corresponding with us throughout the process. You know, I can't tell you how excited we are to come to Denver. Before we started this project, last time I was in Denver was 2002 for a USC Colorado football game. And to see the amount of change in this city since that time has been really exciting. And I got to tell you, it's also been good to see how Denver has preserved its history, its cultural and its culture, and still holds it in high regard. We're very appreciative of working within jurisdictions and cities that take the time for a process like this. We like that because we feel it's going to ensure a high standard, ongoing success for the future in a city that represents its residents, and a city that its residents can be proud of. So hats off really to everyone here for reviving Lower Downtown and making this a place that we want to come do business. We're going to be spending about $9 million on our project in an effort to bring world-class seafood product, exceptional service, and a restaurant environment that not only people are going to enjoy, but all of you, I hope, are proud of. The reason we feel so strongly about this proposed sign is that we have a very recognizable brand across our current 5 water grills, and we feel like this sign is a great and an iconic representation of that brand. Denver will be our 6th location, which follows our original downtown Los Angeles location, followed by Santa Monica, downtown San Diego, Costa Mesa across from South Coast Plaza, which sees 24 million visitors a year, and Las Vegas. After Denver, we're going to be opening up in Bellevue, Washington. As you can see, we're located in some of the largest and densest metropolitan areas in the country. We have countless stories of guests visiting a water grill because they have enjoyed an experience at one of our other restaurants or have been a longtime guest at one of our restaurants. Whether it's Las Vegas and Los Angeles or San Diego and Santa Monica, there's a lot of overlap and loyalty on the part of our guests who continue to support us because we deliver on our product, our service, and our design. The water grill concept lends itself well to feeling like a one-off restaurant with a single location, with our logo, signage, napkins, coasters, and menus, all recognizable to those who have visited multiple locations. So we have the benefit of feeling like a single restaurant, but we have the breadth and are recognized by many across the country. Let's go, if we could, can we go to the first slide? And who's got control? There we go. Today, I have 2 goals today. I want to show the success of our sign at our other locations. And I also want to really get to the detail of the sign. Sometimes shop drawings and renderings really don't do it justice. And I'm glad we're starting with this photo here because you can see that this sign does have much more depth than what's shown on our submittal package. That's more for, you know, building details and square footages, things like that. 5 elements I'd like to point out on this sign for you guys. Of course, the harpoon bracket, which of course is allowed in the CSP, but we feel is just a very strong representation of what our restaurant is. It's a seafood restaurant. Next, you see our water grill name in the custom font. That's a custom font that we developed for our concept, and you see it at every one of our restaurants. Next, the Seahorse logo. The Seahorse logo is iconic. It's instantly recognizable and very communicative. And when I say communicative, it tells you that we serve food. It's a seahorse wearing an apron and holding a cloche as it's presenting food. Next, we always call out our city location and that specific location, in the specific location within the city. So in Denver, this will say Water Grill Denver, located at Market Station. It's really important for us to pay homage to not just the city we're located in, but the specific neighborhood, the specific area, in this case, Lower Downtown. And then of course, established 1989 at the bottom of the sign there. This is the beginning of our conceptual development for the restaurant. And like all of you, we have an affinity for history and a respect for the process that it takes to develop not just a restaurant, but in your case, a beautiful city. So this is our first sign that we put together in Los Angeles. This is located at the Pac Mutual building for those that have visited downtown LA. This building's over 100 years old, and in itself is a very iconic building, representative of turn of the century architecture in Los Angeles. And this was something we wanted to make sure we had a sign that was representative of that. And I feel it's a very similar instance that we have here that we do it in Lower Downtown. This restaurant has been a staple for business meals and entertainment for over 30 years. Next slide, please. Our next sign, this is our second water grill located in Santa Monica. And if we go to the next slide one more time. Tourism is really a huge driver in Santa Monica. It sees over 8 million visitors a year, just tourists. So it's really important for us to have a sign that articulates what we're doing and can draw them into the restaurant themselves. Even though the building itself is large and the sign is relatively small compared relative to the building, it still has a grand presence on the front. And once again, you can see we call out Water Grill, established 1989, just above that sign. Next slide, please. And here's a close-up, once again, showing the detail and the depth, the way the sign's framed in. It gives it some context. We use the gold leaf letters. We're really proud of the sign. We're really adamant about having it because once again, we talk about iconic, representing the brand. This sign's going to do it, and I think it's just going to look very good in Lower Downtown. Next time, please. Next slide. Not the same logo, but just to give you an idea of what we've done. This is downtown San Diego, another one of our cross flag logos. Another great sign we put together down there. Next slide. And then this is our largest water grill, just across the street from South Coast Plaza, which is one of the preeminent malls in the country, 24 million visitors a year. This street sees 50,000 cars a day. And what do we see on the sign? We see Water Grill with the seahorse below. So this is something that people recognize. It's iconic and is very representative of the brand. Next slide, please. And our latest build out in Las Vegas, you're talking about a place that sees a lot of foot traffic and you really need to distinguish yourself. Las Vegas is another instance where we put this sign up. Next slide. This is located in the Forum Shops. They see 28 million visitors annually. So signage is a critical element to make sure you stand out. Next slide. Here's just some ideas, some other examples of what we've done to brand ourselves and some of our other items like our menu, our beverage menu. Third from the right is a cup we put together for Las Vegas restaurants so people can take cocktails to go. And next slide, please. And then here's our annual guest count each one of our restaurants. So this is going to speak to our sign being recognized by people that come and travel to Denver. You know, this is an iconic, classy sign. It's a strong representative of our brand and concept. And my hope is that when people come to Denver, whether for business or pleasure, that they're going to see Water Grill, and it will speak to the city and how it's evolved. It's a growing area to be held in the same regard as the other powerful metropolitan areas in this country. However, it maintains a unique sense of place and continues to hold its history and culture in high regard. We're going to put together a sign that I think that you're all proud of, and we're going to build a restaurant that you're all proud of. And with that, I ask the commission to approve our projecting blade sign. Thank you.
Thank you, and that was amazing timing. Right at the last second. Are there questions from the commissioners to the applicant?
This is not a question. I just want to say thank you for coming to Denver.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, as a New Zealander, I'd like to say thank you for bringing another seafood restaurant to Denver too. It'll be great to see some more excellent seafood product in the downtown, and appreciate the background in terms of your other showing us your other restaurants and the kind of the continuity across them, which we appreciate as well.
Thank you, John. Hey, and we get a lot of seafood from down in New Zealand, and it's great stuff. So I'm
I hope
sure
you
you
do.
enjoy yourself.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I would like to just get maybe a little clarification. I think that the LA sign compared to the other flat blade signs, I mean, definitely it's a flat blade sign, but it has more relief to it in terms of the text component than some of the others. It appears that the Water Grill text, for instance, is sort of extruded in this one versus in the other one, which feels more painted. Is that correct? Is this a more three-dimensional text version of the flat blade sign?
Yeah, this is almost an inverse of the later signs. The signs after this, the border, the way the sign is framed is actually proud of the sign, where in this case, the sign and the letters are actually proud. They're the ones at the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you are correct. And for me personally, I like this one the best. I think it is for the reasons you stated.
Thanks for just clarifying that.
Any other questions? All right, if no more questions for the applicant, we do again want to thank you for presenting and the information that you provided and the thoughtfulness. And then next, yeah, do we know, Jen, if there are any members of the public?
No, there's no one else here.
Okay, didn't think so, but we needed to ask. Okay.
So Emily will move the applicants, just so the applicants know, they'll move them back to attendees so that you can listen in, but won't be speaking to the commission because they're going into deliberation.
Yes. So thanks for that segue, Jen. So commissioners, we're now going into deliberation. So yeah, I guess I would like to invite anyone who wants to speak or has a comment or thoughts to.
Jane, I'm happy to start. I really appreciate where the applicant is coming from and their desire to maintain some cohesiveness across their brand. But unfortunately, I have to agree with the staff recommendation for denial just based on the fact that this doesn't meet the guidelines as they're spelled out in the CSP and the intent behind the guidelines, both from the CSP and from zoning. I really, frankly, I love the harpoon bracket. I think it's fantastic. I have no problem with the gooseneck lighting. I think they meet they still meet the intent in a more contemporary way. I think that what I have an issue with and where I think that the sign doesn't meet the intent of the CSP or the guidelines is really just in how the blade sign is rendering and coming across, in that it is flat. It is fairly much, I mean, it is a blade. And, taking the language straight from the CSP that says that signs should be designed so that the three-dimensional image rather than the words are visible from the street or further down the block. Wording and logos should be kept to a minimum, though kept legible. And even listening to the applicant in their presentation, when they talk about the seahorse with the apron and the cloche is the iconic piece of their brand. To me, you know, if that sign was just the seahorse with the apron and the cloche hanging off of that harpoon bracket, I think this would be approvable, no problem. Where I have an issue with it is, to me, looking at this sign, water grill is the predominant piece of it, which is wording and text. It's not the iconic piece of the graphic of the logo, and it is a flat traditional blade sign. So unfortunately, you know, I don't think that it meets the CSP. I don't think it meets the guidelines, and I am not comfortable approving it. However lovely the sign is, it doesn't meet the guidelines and doesn't meet the intent of the zoning or the CSP. And I think I actually kind of think they're missing an opportunity. I think they gave an example of one of their other projects where there was just the words water grill and the large Seahorse logo on the building. And that stands out. Again, you know, I think bringing that seahorse back into it would be a great way to modify this sign and make it something that's approvable.
Maybe weighing in on that, I'm pretty aligned with Heather on this. I really like the consistency and the approach to signage generally by the applicant across their other restaurants, and I think if this blade sign and harpoon bracket was consistent across all their restaurants, I might have an even harder decision here. But I think given that some of the other restaurants are already opening a kind of a pathway to a different version of signage based on location, despite my kind of personal predilection towards more simple blade signs, I agree with Heather that the guidance outlined within the CSP and the zoning is definitely prescribing something different to this. And I think there's a really interesting opportunity with the Seahorse as well, given some of the applications that they've shown us for that to become, to really meet the requirements in a much more impactful way. And I agree that would be a sort of a very approvable version of a sign, particularly kind of working with the flat text-based signage that they've got approved currently on the building. So the combination of the icon and the projection in the street and the flat signage on the building with the text feels like a really strong combination that is really reflective of the brand and identity of the restaurant.
Can I comment, please?
Yes, go ahead, Steve.
I can agree with what Heather and John said. I'm just wondering if they added relief to this sign, made the seahorse, for example, with relief and more prominent, would that satisfy the requirements?
I mean, honestly, Steve, I think it's kind of hard to say without seeing what that looks like. You know, there is a little bit of subjectivity to the wording of the CSP, but we would need to see it and deliberate and determine whether or not we felt that, you know, the requirement of wording should be kept to a minimum. You know, that the three-dimensional image pops out rather than words, you know, those things, it's hard to weigh in without seeing what that looks like. I think there's potential for that, but without seeing it, it's hard to say yes or no.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Steve. I also think it may be about the balance and scale of the text component versus the Seahorse component and the graphic too. That might be a part of their exploration if they wanted to move in that direction. Definitely, I think the LA version of the sign with the relief was more successful than the flat versions of that sign. But I do believe that, you know, I think strongly that the kind of iconography of the seahorse is maybe the, you know, would be a stronger version of meeting the intent of both the CSP and the zoning requirement.
I'd have to agree with John's assessment. I think the opportunity here for using the three-dimensional seahorse is a fantastic opportunity that may not be available in other locations. I think the combination of what is lettered at the ends at the corner of the building pretty well identifies verbally what you have here. And I just think it's a lost opportunity at this point.
Thanks all. Any other comments?
No, I'll just add, Jane, we don't have the CSP as it was approved kind of in front of us to reference back, but knowing, just listening to the applicant and their description of, the items that they put on the sign to identify, that it's Denver Water Grill, it's at Market Station. I would encourage them to look back at the CSP because I think that there are still other opportunities for things like window graphics, window vinyls and things like that, where they can still accommodate that information and that logo without having it necessarily directly on the sign, on the projecting sign.
And I'll just add too that I think, folks have discussed the sign itself and the lighting. There was another issue brought up in the staff report about the location of the sign on the 4th pier versus the 3rd pier from the corner. And I think maybe in the interest of providing information to the applicant and to staff, I don't know if there were folks that wanted to weigh in on that.
I generally don't have an issue with shifting the allowable location for that over up here, especially since the storefronts have been modified a little bit. But I think to Brittany's point that if they do want to provide it on the 4th pier versus the 3rd pier, that CSP does need to be amended to accommodate that as an allowable location.
I completely agree on that. I think the sign should be where the door is, and it makes sense to move it, so it is. I think it's just a simple amendment. I wouldn't have an issue with that either.
And I agree with the two of you.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
All right. Well, if there are no other comments, would someone like to make a motion? Or yes, sorry, I thought I saw a hand up.
Sure, Jane, I'll do it. I move to deny application number 2021-COA-440 for the projecting signs at 1691 Market Street for the Market Street Comprehensive Sign Plan, which is number 2020-CSA-00000001, amend, approved on September 30th, 2020, presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
I second it.
You, Heather, for the motion, and Steve for this.
There's a slight error. It's CSP. Could someone make an amendment for that? It's not CSA.
It's not actually amended CSAs or CSA.
Oh, sorry about that. Thanks, Brittany.
So we're good? Okay.
Okay. Great. Unless there are any other offered amendments, we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote and start with Andy.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Heather.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
And Jane, also an aye. So the motion passes unanimously and the application is denied. But we do thank you for your time and information on this project. Okay, so that is our sole design review item. But so I'll just ask if we have any business or discussion items.
No, I just wanted to remind commissioners that we do we try to get tables for the Historic Denver Dinner every year when we can, when financing allows or financial opportunities allow. And so we have a table at the Historic Denver Dinner this year, which is October 28th in the evening. We have 2 spots left. So I know that one commissioner from LWRC, I think Andy, is joining us, but if anyone else would like to join, you are absolutely welcome to. Just let me know. There is a requirement for vaccination or a negative COVID test within 72 hours of the meeting or the evening and award ceremony. So that's that. And just also the Denver Landmark Preservation staff and the Landmark Preservation Commission are working on a design guideline update for all of our overarching design guidelines, not just district specific ones, but the main overarching set of design guidelines for Denver landmark structures and districts. We launched that with a kickoff meeting on last Wednesday night, and we're going to do this in phases. So you'll probably be hearing a bunch about it over time. And we'd love your participation, although it does not necessarily affect the Lower Downtown Historic District yet. We will get to those guidelines. It's just that the lower down or the general design guidelines were a much more pressing issue, and we had to deal with them as quickly as we possibly could and put the LODO guidelines on hold for the moment. But we'll get to them, I promise.
And I couldn't make that meeting last week, but is there a is that recorded?
Yep, it's recorded. It's on the website. So if you go to denvergov.org/landmark, that's our main page. And then the picture that launches at the front and the little blurb below it is all about the landmark design guideline update. And click that, it'll send you to the page. There's a little thing on the right that says,
Perfect, thanks.
Here's your recording.
Couple of comments. Thank you. I'm on the board of Historic Denver, and I've already made arrangements, but I'll see you there. Secondly, the heads up thing about the Rio Grande building on the 1500 block of Blake, is that a contributing building?
Yes, I believe it is.
Yeah. Well, so you know that that it's been sold and that there's planning to be a redevelopment, and I don't know anything more than that.
Okay. Yeah, we haven't heard anything either. They haven't come in for a concept. We would be when an applicant comes in for concept for ideas of what they're thinking about doing, and just to see what other city agencies have to say or work groups have to say, we are flagged when it's in a historic district. So if there's any redevelopment happening there, they will submit a concept and we will be flagged for that. I know there was talk of that a few years ago, and there were parking issues because that area is currently used for parking. And so they would have to supply that kind of parking, that amount of parking. It's not a landmark issue, it was a zoning issue.
Well, there may be a little bit of parking back there, but it's not public parking. And it's primarily a patio area that I'm assuming is going to be built.
Yeah, and again, I don't know. It's there were questions about it about 5 or 6 years ago, and this holdup then was parking. So again, not a landmark issue, but we will review it if it comes in for sure, and you all will review that. Cool. That was it.
I think this is a record, less than an hour.
We'll take it. Well, great. Well, it was nice to see everyone. And unless anyone has anything else to mention, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
At 9:15 for the record.
At 9:15.
Thanks, everybody.